United States of America, to the republic and nation is for all. No box. Not locked.
Okay.
Yes.
Any comments on last month's minutes? Or if not, can I get a motion to approve them?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We received any commission correspondence since the last meeting? Anybody else see anything?
Some resident emailed me about traffic lights, just saying to hopefully we install them. We can.
The red light,
Yeah,
remember the guy saying? You might have got all of us.
probably hit all of us. Yeah, that was it.
I answered him that the DOT guidance on the implementation is not finalized yet.
Yeah, Ron Philippic.
Yeah.
Philippic. I don't.
Make sure he covered all his bases.
Yep.
Where's the traffic?
The DOT is still finalizing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're gonna go right into new business for a personnel matter to discuss the hiring of a new officer. So can I get a motion to go into executive session for that?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for hiring of the new officer.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so we are going into executive session.
I don't think so. She was talking to him, I think.
Right.
Yeah. She wants to get out of here.
Yeah.
She's got a meeting, so.
Dr.
Yeah.
Penn.
Dock her pay.
So 6:48. Paul made a motion to kind of executive session, seconded by Dave. And the commission voted unanimously to hire Raphael Pena.
Well, you better use his whole name. Because then it's on his official documentation. Yeah, if it goes by Troy Payne, yeah.
Yeah, the commission
Yeah.
voted unanimously to hire him. He will be sworn in tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Two items in new business here.
Mhm.
One is, these are the meeting dates for 2024. There were only two changes from our usual third Wednesday. One is we had to change September up a week because of the Berlin Fair. We had to change June up a week because of the new holiday, Juneteenth.
I wanted to ask if we could change May 15th.
That's in the morning.
That's Police Memorial Day. Well, we were gonna do our award service at night.
Oh, I'm gonna be-
Yeah, Police Memorial Day. So I've been trying to get them to do for the past,
okay, here's what we'll do. We're gonna submit this
and then change it later.
and
maybe.
we'll, next month, we'll do an addendum.
Mhm.
We just gotta look at what's on each end of that. So, but absolutely, we'll make that. Of course, I said, happy, and we'll get that up to the town clerk by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Change in January.
Just email it. Okay, and then the other thing, Chief, did you want to speak to that? Last month, it was just a rumor.
What was the date for June 19th? Did we change that date?
No, it's not changed on here. It should be June 12th.
June 12th? Okay,
Because I just found out that.
Yeah.
holiday for that.
we're making them up as we go along.
Chief,
Okay.
We'll roll this into your monthly report, but last month it was just speculative and we hadn't seen anything actually discussed as racial profiling preliminary report that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so, basically, it's the annual, they do an annual review of, all motor vehicle stops. When an officer stops somebody, they gotta estimate what race they are on a form, stop form, and, make it reported, it's statistical analysis. So looking at each individual year, we fall well within the parameters of not having a racial profiling problem. But when they took the 3 years aggregate and put it together, there was us, the state police, which have a whole nother ticket issue. Guilford was the other place where when they did the 3 year review, it shows an anomaly on the day shift hours of stopping, possibly stopping people of color discriminately. The report was not released. It's a preliminary report. But they did say they had a leak or something, which leaked to the press or whatever about the sections. So what happened was we didn't find out about this until it was on the news early in the morning that Berlin and Guilford would possibly be making motor vehicle stops based on race. I don't believe that's the truth at all. We know that in 2017, 2018, and 2019, almost the exact same anomaly showed up, and my predecessors did a huge statistical study. I have the study. The Berlin Turnpike hasn't moved. The Chamberlain Highway hasn't moved. They know that this is a transient community. I did speak with the head of this program, this Ken Barone, and on a phone call, and he said, when are we going to see the official report? The official report has not been released. And what they're going to do, he's going to come in January. I talked about how the last time they did this and they did a deep dive and looked at everything, they found out that what their assumption was not true. Amazingly, I think their assumption is the same as last time. And in conversation with him on the phone, he thinks that's going to be the problem too. So he's going to come sometime in late January. We're going to sit down, and between now and then, we're pulling all of our stats for the past 3 years, showing where our stops are, and looking at
This
why
is
it's
still that
happened.
same group that run out of Central.
Yeah, they're out of UConn now.
Okay, now,
Same group. Yeah.
So, have you ever seen the enabling language for this, how they're supposed, or how they're apparently judging us? And here's why I ask: racial profile is an overt conscious act. Have it at the end of a 3-year period, having a racial breakdown of tickets issued just by chance. It's not an overt act, it's just the way the chips fell. So is there assumption that the ticket distribution doesn't match the ethnic distribution of your town, that there's bad behavior?
That's what they assume.
That's the default thinking.
Yes. So they look at the percentage in your community, which the last time is 1.9% for Berlin. I looked it up. And then they look at the number of stops. And don't forget, this is self-reporting. So I'm the officer, I stopped you, I look at you, and I have assess what ethnicity are. There's other things on that list, but this is all about the ethnicity part. I have to assess what ethnicity you are without asking you. So,
This for Joe.
yeah. So that's really how they come up with the statistical analysis. Now, what I do know is that in the first tertiary, back in 2017, there was over 5,000 motor vehicle contacts in Berlin. And during this past 3-year period, there's about 2,800, maybe a little bit more, but not 5,000. So that should change too. But we've also seen the population in the community is starting to change, because you got new buildings, new construction, people moving in, and none of that gets taken into account here. Plus the amount of people on the road. So one of the things that Barone said to me without sitting down and doing this analysis, and he's talking to me, and he's on a computer, because I know he's looking up stuff that I was hitting him on. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right, over there by Deming Road, where Eversource is putting those behind the Eversource building, you got the housing units, and there's gonna be, this percentage is gonna be section 8 or section 10. So they've got all these stats. And so I think that's what's gonna happen in January. They're gonna come, they're gonna sit down, and they're gonna come up with the same response that they had last time. What irritated me is, he says, well, I don't know how this got out in the public. Well, if nobody's got the report, we know how it got out in the public. You pick the cherry picks and pieces, right? And so what happens is, we'll go through that. Now I want equal time. When you find out that we're not in this realm, then why don't you make your press release to say, oh, guess what? We reviewed the stats a little deeper, and Berlin PD does not have this problem, because my phone's been blowing up. People have been calling. A lot of community people are upset about this. Plus, you get, your like the schools and stuff. Oh wow, the cops must be racist because I heard it on the news. Well, you hear a lot of stuff on the news that's not true these days. So I had a pretty good conversation with them. We were on the phone for about 45 minutes when I started talking about the last time, and it's sitting right on my desk. So I don't see how we're not going to be able to show that that's not happening here. Our officers are not out there. They're very professional. And, having been in this field 40 years, I'm sorry, but you don't know what somebody looks like until you walk up and stick your head in the window.
Right. Well, and by then you've already both.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything's on cameras, by the way. We're body camera, car camera, crazy. So it's not, I think this is that anomaly, the DDAC anomaly that they had in the previous one. It's probably going to show up again.
And what I've noticed is that this report completely leaves out the fact the location when pursuing a potential traffic stop. Most of these stops are initiated from a distance behind a vehicle in question. How are you to know who's driving in that situation? The examples are obviously Berlin Turnpike and the Sherman Highway. Also, we are CALEA accredited. Does that carry any weight?
Not with this group. With CALEA, actually, what this group does could affect CALEA, not the other way around. So.
Well, I was part of that response with the previous chief. Happy to be as involved or not as involved as you'd like, but
Well, we'll know after that first meeting. It's the same thing. Yeah, it is the same guy. It is, and
they didn't dispute anything after that.
Yeah, I think he got the impression that we were not going to be a pushover when I talked to him. I told him, you know what, statistics can go either way, and I know that game. So.
Okay, thank you for bringing this up. Yeah. And I want to jump into your regular monthly report.
Yeah, so a little bit of a shortened monthly report compared to the past few. That was also on the monthly report, so we covered that. We've had some high-profile criminal arrests made recently. If you're looking at our social media, you'll see that we started posting some of our higher profile. Yeah, if they're adult, we're putting the mugshots out there. It's a twofold reason. Part of it is we want the public to be able to identify people if they see them in their areas, and also to share that information with other people. But another part of that was because our social media people do a great job, and our officers do a great job of community service, involved in a lot of stuff. So when you see all that in the social media, you just think, wow, nothing bad's happening. And okay, but a potential recruit, and Mr. Pena just made my case without even realizing it. He talked about how he went to Facebook, then he went to social media. That's what all our potential new recruits do. When we put up something saying, hey, we're hiring, they go to their phones or their computers and look up and say, oh, this is great. So we're getting off potential officers who are looking at saying, well, this is all community service, but I really want some activity. Well, guess what? We've been having a lot of activity. Not that we go out and look for it, it's just happening. But they can see that there's a diversity, and that also brings in more applicants. So our social media, we had to expand it a little bit. My predecessors wouldn't put any of that kind of stuff out, is what I was told from the social media team. I think it's important for the community to know that, listen, yeah, besides, shaking hands, kissing babies and doing coffee with a cop and all that stuff, we're also out there making a difference. And it also helped morale because the officers are saying, wait a minute, I really look at the media coverage we're getting here. I can get this media coverage. It looks good for me. So it's really a threefold process when you think about it. So that's what we're seeing our officers really start to think more like investigators too, which was what I had mentioned 2 years ago when I first got hired here. Our bloodhounds getting more use, which is great. Lieutenant Martin sitting here. He's now heading up the MSARS team for the major accidents for the region. We've had a couple bad accidents in the past 2 weeks. So, that's another big thing. One of the things in my report, I talked about, we're paying particular attention to our houses of worship. The United States, Christopher Wray, the FBI director, announced just a week and a half ago that we're at the highest threat level that this country's been at since 9/11. There's a lot of concern from houses of worship with all the protest marches happening. And, you turn on the news, you see New York City, you see Chicago, you see the big cities, but we're also seeing it here in Connecticut, New Haven, Bridgeport, Hartford, and the trickle effect is going to affect all of us. We're a small state, and, so we're paying more attention, more emphasis on patrolling those areas. If it looks suspicious, look into it. So we're on top of that. And I don't see that going away anytime soon. Every other day I'm getting intelligence reports about as things ramp up in the Mideast, as they ramp up in Ukraine, as they ramp up in Venezuela, Guyana. The average American citizen probably sick of hearing bad news, but for law enforcement, we have to be at our A game all the time. So
Speaking of
we're
house
doing
of
that.
worship stuff, so when the power was out one day at St. Paul, they had a generator
Mhm.
run over. Somebody picked it up after a couple hours and took off the update on that during the day. Really?
No.
Sure.
Not that I know of. No. Also, our guys downstairs did a phenomenal job in preparation for the start of the new renovation project this past month. We have 2 Conex boxes out there. They're pretty much packed. We took a dumpster load of stuff out. Today, I got an email telling us that Millennium Builders is ready to come in. The Public Building Committee signed the paperwork or whatever. We're hoping that starts right after the beginning of the new year now. I don't know if it's going to come between Christmas and New Year's. They thought they might even have been here tomorrow, but I'm kind of wondering that because I got that notice today, so I'm not sure they're going to be here tomorrow. Well, they told us. We're ready to go. I know the problem is the Board of Ed side. We're hiring somebody to clean it out and it hasn't been done yet, but they can start on our side. Everything's cleaned out and we're ready for the demolition and all. And we look forward to that project getting going.
Long time.
And the usual, we're still trying to hire.
So you're doing well.
We're 3 short and we're going to be 4 short come January. So
Yeah, with it, the early.
with it, you're leaving.
What's his last name? Without trying to leave, how long's he working?
I think January 3rd, January 4th, somewhere's in there. Yeah. He could have taken the leave. He didn't take it. He didn't want us to short us. We're already short for the holidays. So yeah, he's good. I'm gonna miss him. So
So
that's it.
thank you very much. Any questions on Lieutenant Solik's investigative division report?
I was very impressed at the bottom with the Detective Delgado had been assigned follow-up related recovery of a stolen firearm in Britain. The gun was found and recovered near area of the VFW pavilion after being discarded by suspects related to car break-ins. It's a big deal picking up a weapon, and so it doesn't end up in some kid's hand here.
Yeah, it was out in the swamp.
And she found that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow.
That's fine. Sergeant Kelly's youth officer report. Speaking of which, he. Another job.
Yeah.
So we could summon to backfill him in that. But
I have interviews on Wednesday next week.
still
Yeah.
in the process.
Yeah.
Support Services Division from Lieutenant Jobs, any issues there?
I would like to see the Berlin Fair after action report. We've never seen it. I mean, you have suggestions as to how to make improvements for the next coming year. Is that what that's all about?
The suggestions aren't usually in the after action report. That's usually a separate meeting for them. The after action report just reviews everything that happened during this current fair. I'm trying to think, I read it, it was pretty innocuous.
Well, you made a lot of changes for this fair.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
if
But-
Anything to be tweaking.
Last night there was a meeting with the Berlin's Lion Club where they were gonna vote whether or not they were gonna do the Thursday night again. I don't know what the outcome was on that. Still on. It's still on?
It's
Okay.
pretty empty. I enjoyed it because it was empty.
Yeah.
Like,
So, but they'll have a meeting, probably February, where they're gonna, say, okay, what are we gonna do different now? If he knows that they're gonna continue with that, because that's what, the last thing I heard was they weren't sure if they were gonna continue with the extra night or not. So I'm sure that's gonna invoke a change or two.
On the second page, we had some issues with the EOC, the FCC, and the TAC training. I thought Get Me Home program, that happened to my mother, is a wonderful thing that we've initiated here. People that have issues with possibly Alzheimer's and walking away from home,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, they just got that new program on all the police dispatch centers in Connecticut too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for if a young person who's left the house decides they want to go back home, they can come to the police and we will arrange transportation, or if it's a bus ticket to another state or whatever, we got a way to do that, get them back to where they came from.
Nice. Traeger recertification is again what?
That's the breathalyzer machine.
That's it for me.
There's a coffee with a cop on Friday morning at Provision State Coffee, 8 to 10 over on Farmington Ave too.
Thank you. Lieutenant Martin's Patrol Operations Division, any issues with that report?
That was excellent work on the second page. It's an area of focus this year. Then motor vehicle enforcement related to legal street racing. We've all complained about that, resulting in numerous infractions, summons being issued throughout the year. In this case, the suspect was racing on 571 that took off, and officers who attempted to conduct motor vehicle stop were in a position on Christian Lane waiting for the vehicle to exit the highway. Shortly after, the vehicle was observed again in town and was stopped utilizing boxing maneuvers, preventive stop sticks, and a full custody arrest for street racing and numerous other moving violations was made. That's excellent work. We did that a lot, as they say. Very good.
Okay, Deputy Chief's administration report. Any comment or concerns on that?
I'm all set. No, I'm all set.
Oh. Keep any concerns with the budget at this point?
No, we're where we should be, minus a little extra overtime that we have incurred with some of these special events, but we've been doing is tracking all the waivers for the past year, so I think we're doing everything that we've always done, where they waive the fees,
Yeah.
but nobody ever really sat this. Let's see what that chunk is coming out of our regular payroll, and it's pretty big. You know, it's a big discussion for the,
due to a sidebar, we educate the commission, including myself on this, so. A lot of our overtime is because we've been shorthanded. So can you run us through everyone within their FTO or the academy and when they're expected to be independently deployable,
yeah, that was,
roughly?
yeah, wasn't that in last month's report? That,
Just doing
I had, yeah,
updating.
I can update it, yeah. So, because we're gonna have one more going to an academy now.
So, yep. You had a couple just graduated?
Yes, two just, now they're an FTO.
Okay. And how long is FTO again?
It'll be up to 15 weeks. We changed our FTO a little bit too. So if you're, everybody's extending their FTOs, all the law enforcement agencies, because there's so many more mandates coming out that we gotta make sure everybody gets that mandated training that we're not getting money from the state from. So, if you're ahead of the curve, we will shorten the FTO. It has to be a minimum of 10 weeks. So instead of extending people, we just extended the FTO, and let's see if somebody's ready sooner, then we'll bring them onto the road sooner so we can try and get our personnel in their places.
We have two recent graduates who are in FTO and have 2 or 3 in the academy.
Three.
3 right now, and there'll be 4. Yeah,
Where are those 3?
all at Post and Meriden.
So nobody's in the Britain.
No, the Britain just graduated. That's where we got the other 2 from. And we missed the other New Britain start, which was in November because we had no candidates. So,
And any issues with the FO logger, just the usual?
the usual stuff.
What's a Giglio list?
Giglio is a term from a court case. If an officer's ever been disciplined for anything where their veracity has been questioned, and the court can issue what's called a Giglio letter to the agency, which says that officer can't testify in cases because they had an internal event, some kind of investigation where they were deemed not to be truthful. Hard to believe, but not being truthful is not always a matter of termination. You know, because your veracity in court is not based on what you say, but what on other people perceive that you say. So the court will issue a Giglio letter. So now we got a case going to trial, and the defense attorney said, I want to know if there's any Giglio letters in these people's backgrounds. So they get the judge or the prosecutor to send us a letter. Then we pull everybody's files and make sure if anybody's been disciplined. We don't have that problem here. Big city like where I came from, big cities have this problem a lot.
Fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. But like the worst thing, most cops don't realize this until they're senior veteran, seasoned officers. The worst thing you could do is get a Giglio letter.
Can't imagine.
Because you get a big case and you got to do warrants and all. The judge might not even want to look at your warrants. And they're going to turn that case to somebody else. So I know some 2 people in my career prior to here that had Giglio letters and were still employed by the city. And then eventually both of them left. Just because the GA down there they didn't want to see any cases from them. And they're patrol officers. I mean, they're gonna get a shoplifting, they're gonna get an accident report, stuff like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any other miscellaneous things for the good of the order? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, Commissioner Rogan, to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Standing, assuming that unanimous. vote?
Yes, sir. That's at 7:15.
7:15.
New record.